Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video. Today I'm going to be creating some cards based on sketches that I brainstormed in my last video. Link up in the top corner if you want to check that out. I'm going to be first creating a tall slimline card using a vertical happy stamp from CZ Design's Happy Days stamp set. So first I'm going to be cutting out the card base for my slimline card, and I'm making this one a little bit larger than usual because it's going to be going in a size 10 envelope. And it's just a little bit bigger than a slimline envelope. So the finished card size is actually 4 by 9. So I cut this to be 8 by 9 and then scored it down the middle. Scored it down the middle and then folded it in half. Now I made this one larger on purpose because I have this envelope that I created actually in a mail art video a number of years ago that I've never used because I didn't have a card to go inside of it. So I'm going to show you how well this 4 by 9 fits inside a size 10 envelope. Have that envelope. The stamps I used in the bottom of that were from Inkblot. And I think I did the video for Simon, I think maybe, I can't remember, but it was a number of years ago. But a 4 by 9 slimline card fits perfectly in a size 10 business envelope. So I'm going to take this vertical happy stamp. Like I said before, this is from the CZ Design Happy Days stamp set. And I'm going to repeat stamp this stamp in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. It's a nice dark black ink. It's going to have a really nice impression. And after I stamp it each time, I'm cleaning off the stamp really well and then moving it and stamping it again. So I got 5 of these happies across with them kind of hanging off the end. And I really love this repeated look of this vertical stamp. I think it's a cool way to take a smaller-ish stamp and have it fill a really large area. Repeat stamping always does that, and I really love the look of it. So while I've got my MISTI stamp positioning tool out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the greeting. This is another stamp from that same stamp set. I'm using some Basil Licorice Twist cardstock, and I'm going to prep it with an anti-static powder tool. This is just to prep it for some embossing powder later. And I'm going to stamp my greeting in Versamark ink. Now notice when I stamp this, I'm going to be very methodical with the way I stamp it. I'm putting it down very lightly, just barely pressing with my fingertips because this stamp design has some very thin-lined words going around the outside of the circle, and I didn't want to kind of thicken up those lines by pressing too hard on the stamp and squishing it down. I'm applying some Brutus Monroe Sterling embossing powder, tapping off the excess, and then using my heat tool to heat set this until it's smooth and melted. So this is a metallic silver shade, so it has a really nice sheen to it. I'm going to set that aside and break out my colored pencils. I'm using some Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils, and I'm using 5 different colors. I'm going to be coloring each one of these happies in a solid color. This first one is just a nice orange shade. Then I moved to yellow. Eventually I moved on to this kind of really nice magenta, more of like a rose shade. Then to a purple, and then I finished off with a little bit more of like a tealish green shade. I'm going to make these letters look a little bit dimensional. So I'm going to take a white colored pencil and add just a highlighted area down the center of each of these letters. I want to give it just a hint of some dimension, like these are puffy letters of some sort. And to make it even more dimensional looking, I'm going to add a gray shadow to the bottom right of each of these letters. Just really messy shadows. And then I came in to emphasize the highlighted areas with a Gelly Roll pen. This is a number 10 Gelly Roll pen. I just added that white line on there in just some areas. And while I had the white pen out, I thought, why not? I'll add some really fun, kind of festive white dots, almost reminiscent of confetti, of something a little bit like that, but I thought it would go along with this like happy message. So after I had all of my white dots drawn, I grabbed the Nested Circles die set from Simon, and I found one that was about the right size I needed for my circle greeting. Held that down with a little bit of washi tape and ran it through my Gemini Junior die cutting machine. Then put some foam adhesive on the back of my circle greeting, and then I just put it directly onto this card. And this is going to finish this first card. This one worked up really fast. The coloring took a little bit of time, but for the most part, this is a really simple card. And I love how it pairs with that envelope and it fits just perfectly inside of that envelope. So now I'm going to move on to another card sketch. And this card I did kind of took a turn for, well, it was a mistake and then it was something different and then we get what we get, right? So I have quite a few sheets of cardstock here from Hero Arts in various colors. I believe you can buy an assortment pack of all these colors. So I'll link that down below and in the video description, just under the supplies. But I just picked out a bunch of these colors and I cut little 1/8 inch strips. I cut 4 strips from each sheet and I'm going to be putting these all together in a sort of a rainbow pattern and then die cutting them all at once. So because I'm going to be adhering them together, I need to think about what I'm adhering them to. I have a really thin sheet of just computer paper. This isn't actually going to be shown in the final project, so it doesn't matter what color paper you use for this. I'm also using some Stick It adhesive sheets, which is a full sheet of adhesive, and I'm cutting this one to 5 1/4. That other piece of white computer paper was 5 1/2. So this is just a little bit smaller than the computer paper. I'm going to take off half of the release paper on the back of the Stick It sheet and put it directly down onto this square piece of paper. And then I can kind of fold it over, find the release paper on the other half, and peel it away while I press it down. Now I'm going to peel up that entire release paper that's coating the adhesive. And this is going to expose the adhesive so that I can press my strips of cardstock down onto the paper. And I'm doing this in kind of rainbow order. And I also realized I needed somewhere to kind of like hold my hand down to stabilize it while I put these strips in place. So I brought back one of those release papers that were initially on the Stick It adhesive sheet. And I just kept moving that down as I adhered these strips so that I could rest my hand right over the adhesive area. So I added all of these strips on here. It didn't take too long, maybe just a few minutes or so to get all of these lines on here. Now, my initial idea for this card was to take that leaf die from the new Simon Says stamp release and cut it out and then have the interior of the leaves be this, arranged strips of cardstock. That was my original idea. So to prep for the die cutting, I cut off any of the excess so that I wouldn't have any exposed adhesive from the Stick It sheet. And then I grabbed my die that I was going to be using for this. And this is the, leafy branch die. And I put that off to one side because I thought, this is a big area. I might be able to get multiple cards out of this. And I'm glad I did this. And you'll see why here in a minute. I used some washi tape to hold that die in place. And then I grabbed the Chunky Happy die set from CZ Design. And I put that at a little bit of an angle, held it down with washi tape, and then ran this through my die cutting machine. So when I put it through my Gemini Junior, I did use a metal shim and the Happy came out no problem. It die cut everything so beautifully. I had no issues with that. But I did have to run through that leafy branch die twice. And it must have shifted while I did the second run through my die cut machine because it just had a really hard time cutting through. It didn't cut through the first time. And then this second time, it was just, tearing things apart. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to use that Happy and go with that. I cut 4 additional Happy die cuts out of some white cardstock. And then I placed that on my card front and then grabbed a greeting from the big birthday greeting stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. This is actually one of my favorite stamp sets from last year. I love this stamp set. I've used it on so many birthday cards. I stamped the birthday greeting in more of that VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And it's a nice stark black ink. It's going to look really nice, kind of butted up against the colorful Happy die cut. And I first adhered the outline in white cardstock. I added some dots of glue using Gina K Designs Connect Glue. And then I lined up the bottom of the Y with the edge of the Y on birthday. I thought that'd be a nice kind of way to anchor those two together. After I had the outline adhered, then I added glue to the interior areas and then popped in those colorful pieces of my letters. This was a really fast way to do it. In the past, I think my first inclination was to add adhesive to the back of the die cuts and then put them on the project. But it is so much easier just to put the adhesive down first and then puzzle piece those pieces right on top. I did the same to build up 4 layers of this white outline. Added little dots all along the outer edge of the word, and then grabbed my die cut and put that directly over the top. And this worked out really well. It was very fast and a lot less frustrating than holding that dainty die cut and putting adhesive on the back. So once you have that first one down, you can just put adhesive on top of it and put the new die cut right on top. So like I said before, I cut this out 4 times. There were 4 layers. And after I had the outline adhered, then I did all the interior pieces on the letter A and the 2 letter P. I just used my tweezers to pick those up and adhere them. So after I had all of that adhered, that pretty much finishes up this card, and you can see all that dimension. I'm going to keep it simple. I thought about adding a black border, but then I decided to just keep it the way it is, super, super simple and easy. Now, I had the leftover outline pieces from those rainbow stripes, so I decided to make a second card using that same die cut. So using the same technique, I'm using this on a black card base, and this is also a smaller card. That first card that had the white card base was 5 by 7. This one is A2, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I used the same process, except this time it's not going to have any additional dimension because I only did the 1 layer of each of these. So after I had that adhered, I needed a greeting. So I grabbed one of the sentiment strips sets that was released in the latest Simon Says stamp release. I'll have it linked down below. I'm not entirely sure what this one's called. I think it's Happy, something like that, or Lots of Happy. I'll have it linked down below, but I cut this greeting out and put a strip of foam tape on the back and then adhered it directly down onto my card. So that was the last card for today, finishing up this very last one. I had such a fun time using all of these products from CZ Design. Just a reminder that everything I've used today are linked down below. I'll also link to that envelope video where you can see me create that size 10 business envelope. Thank you so much for watching today. Make sure you head over to my blog. This is part of a blog hop, so you can hop along and see a bunch of people use the new Simon Says stamp release. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon for another video.